I do not understand. I mean, smoked it going down, click over the reel and set the hook to nothing. Got him that time. That's a good one. Hi, Nikki. Number one.
Well, here we are, stop number 2 of the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit event on the Harris chain is over and done with. This event was presented by Bad Boy Mowers. We have us a champion, and it is Laramy Strickland.
That it is, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You fished 2 Pro Circuit events in your career.
I have.
And you are now 50%, so
hey,
things are going pretty good for you.
50-50 is pretty good, you know, like after like not a bomb at Rayburn, but you know, come home and to win it.
In your
not
backyard.
Not too bad, not too bad.
Family and friends surrounding you. It was a really awesome week. You know, we had the weather shortened event, but still you came out, you caught fish. We are actually saving ourselves a lot of work running the boat. We're gonna splash right into the marsh where you caught your fish all week. And we're gonna try to catch the biggest bag we've ever caught on day 5. Sound good?
Dude, I think we got a shot at it. I mean, if we catch our bites, we're gonna have 20 plus.
Let's do it. Well, Laramie, we had, I mean, it's not that far from the ramp, but it takes a little bit because we can only run the trolling motor,
yeah.
Which is what you had to do all week, except you had to come in.
Like way farther than what that was. I mean,
yeah.
It was like a race, like a trolling motor race, you know?
Yeah.
Put that thing on 10 and let it go.
Well, we sawed through some hydrilla on our way to where you've been doing your damage.
That's right.
We got some big sticks in our hand.
We do.
And we're just gonna kind of flip a lot of this stuff, these reed heads or these
you see,
clumps
it's like
of stuff.
Reeds and clumps, and that's just kind of blown in, and it's kind of what I've been targeting.
Cool, pretty straightforward. You did cast, you were throwing the machete worm, right? Reaction innovation.
I was.
Kind of around these. Was that how you filled time between these clumps?
Yep, exactly. You know, like I would, like as you can see, like there's a clump here, then there'll be a clump like 50 yards away, and then a clump 50. So I'd flip the clumps, then I'd pick up that worm and throw it around. That's, I mean, I caught a 7 and a 5 in a tournament doing that, which was pretty clutch.
Yeah,
that was
absolutely.
like a bonus,
yeah.
so to say.
Well, I think, without further ado, let's drop some big weights and some mats.
Let's get it. Let's catch some.
All right, Laramie. You know, obviously there's a lot of really good looking stuff here, but break down what you were looking for, you know, to sling these big weights in, because it's not like you can just go flailing wherever you want.
Right, right. You know, you can look like back there where I just flipped. That's willow trees, buddy. So that was obviously an island. Like them willow trees are not gonna let anything blow by. You know, they're gonna grab them. Like if you flip your bait over there, that sucker's gonna catch it. You know, so that's why, like willow trees, cattails, anything that holds something is what you're looking for. Like where if this floating mud, if there wasn't trees or nothing there, man, that mud mat can be over there today.
Sure.
And over there tomorrow. You know, it just blows with the wind, and fish aren't gonna get under that. But like something like standard like this right here is like you got trees, you got everything, you know? It's kind of like you don't want your house to blow away. So, so they don't want theirs, you know? So that's why they stay into a place that's solid like this.
And that's why you were saying like this flipping mats played to your advantage with the cold front, because those females wanted to sit under here where it's warm, it's nice, you know, whereas a lot of guys, you know, we saw the guys winding hydrilla, you know, whether it was in Griffin or Harris or whatever, a lot of guys struggled.
Right.
You kind of had the perfect home for them to live in those conditions.
You know, they did, and them guys actually, you know, their fish didn't leave by no means. I mean, them fish they live offshore, you know. After they're actually catching all like post spawn. There was so many guys, you know, that weighed in giant mouth, you know, post spawn fish out there. Where in here, it's still like pre-spawners are in here, you know. Fish live here year round.
Yep.
But you got fish coming from the lake, and if fish are in here, they're pre-spawn. So like in practice, there was beds, there was bucks on beds, there was big females swimming by like the whole time. So when obviously all them fish that are in here, when it got cold, man, that was their like bam, go to the mats, warmth. That's their You know, that's what they do. They're going for warmth. So that's kind of why, and it was a perfect storm, because like the colder, every single clump had a bass under it. I mean, I probably could have stayed and picked it apart and caught multiple, but yesterday, like the reason I struggled so much, and it's kind of, you know, carrying over to today, is because it's warmer. You know, the fish are roaming, they're looking for beds.
Yep.
You know, the bucks are going to be on beds way before the females. You know, I guess that's their job. You know, they want to stay on beds and they'll be there in the rain. You know, where a big female, she wants the perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of why they pulled under these mats like they did. On everybody, really. I mean, oh, that's a big one. Get in here. That's the ones we're looking for. Big one.
So I think it was interesting that throughout the event, you know, you had to adjust your flipping setup, right? And
I did.
I think a lot of people probably don't pay as much attention to that when you're using big weights, but you switched weights, downsized baits a little bit, and that was key to get some more bites.
I did. You know, like the first day, this area here that we're in right now is, you know, it's mats, it's tight, the wind blew. I mean, it's blowing pretty hard today, but it was like blowing like 20
Oh yeah,
that day.
yeah, it was ripping.
So you're actually flipping with the setup that I had the first day. You know, you got a 2-ounce weight, a big bait, you know, and the bite, I mean, the fish were there, so it wasn't like I needed to. Yesterday, we're actually fishing the same clumps I fished, and man, I didn't catch them. I mean, I had 2 bites at 10 o'clock. So I resorted down to this one right here, which is, it's actually a 1-ounce weight.
Okay.
And from a 1 ounce to a 2 ounce, and I like cut my bait in half pretty much. I mean,
yeah,
I switched to a
just
whole lot smaller
yep.
bait. And then, you know, with a smaller bait, smaller weight, you can flip in the holes better, where that big bait would grab with a 1 ounce and wouldn't go through. So when I went to the 1.8, or you know, the 1 ounce weight and dropped my profile and my bait size down, it falls slower, it's a smaller target, you know, bite was tough. And when I did that, you know, my bite rate went up tremendously. I mean, I went from like 4 or 5 bites to almost every clump,
Wow,
every clump.
Okay.
So that's kind of how that went. And I did change areas a little bit too. I put my trolling motor on high and had me a trolling motor race out of here because, you know, time frame.
Yeah, yeah.
And I went across the canal to another marshy area that I might show you today.
Ooh,
and,
I like that.
There's lily pads there, you know, and it's warm. You know, it was warming up yesterday, so I knew the fish were pulling out of these mats. They were leaving me.
Yep.
And they were heading up to spawn. So we went over there, and basically, you know, bass spawn on lily pads. So I knew that they were going to be spawning there. So I went to where there was mats still, it mixed in with lily pads. So where a female, like if she leaves here, she's got to swim forever to go to a levee or a hard spot. Where over there, you know, they don't. I mean, they could spawn under the mat, you know, so to say.
Gotcha. I know you kind of already gave us, you know, a breakdown about changing weight size, downsizing baits and all that, but give me the rundown on just kind of your whole flipping setup, because that's pretty important to getting fish out of this gnarly jungle that exists in front of us.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm flipping with a 7.6 hydrilla grass Fitzgerald flipping stick. I mean, man, it is by far the best. It's light, it's balanced. You know, you can just keep, as you were watching yesterday, I'll just bam, 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 kicking it out, you know, and I have that spool with 70-pound Bursa braid. I mean, the bass, you know, it's more of a reaction bite, so they ain't really worried about clear water, nothing.
Right.
I mean, and we're flipping in the jungle, so I don't want my line to break if I do get a bite. So, like, I mean, I'm pulling them out. I got it paired with a 3/0 Mustad, the heavy duty hook, you know, 1.5 ounce or 2 ounce Fitzgerald flipping weight. And that's kind of my setup on Shimano HG 8-5. I mean, you want the fastest
high speed,
reel,
yep.
high speed to get them out. And that's kind of, you know, and it's kind of my setup.
We're basically watching Laramie's 31-pound day. We're at the spot you caught. This was an 8-pounder?
This was the 9.4.
9-pounder. This was the big one.
You can see, like, she's about to get hung up on that limb right there. Right
oh yeah,
now.
right here. We are basically pulled down where you were when you pitched in here.
Pretty much, yep.
You drug her out. She got wrapped right on this end, but made it through all of that fine.
It got wrapped on it, and there she is.
And that's where you hold it up and show it to your parents who were standing right on that
over there
pavilion.
in that pavilion. Yeah.
Dude, that's cool,
wild.
man. While we're easing along here, you know, you talked about casting between, you know, the stuff you were gonna go flip, and this little dude right here
That
was
little dude right there.
your deal. You didn't catch a lot of fish on it throughout the course of the week, but you caught some really key fish on it. What is it?
You know, that is the reaction machete worm. It's a swimming worm. I mean, you can fish this thing and drag it slow, or you can throw it and reel it out. And basically what I did, I was just taking it and, you know, throwing it out and just bumping it along through the holes. You know, I'm just like reeling my reel real slow. And then there was fish that was sitting in the hydrilla pockets that weren't under mats, and I actually caught like a couple decent, like, well, I say decent. I mean, I caught a 7 and a 5. I got one right now. Matter of fact.
Get him.
I missed him. He was little. But that's how it went right there. I mean, you're just fishing along and you get a bite, and luckily I had 2 good bites on it during the tournament. Not no little squeaker like right there.
What size weight did you put on it?
I kind of bounced around. You know, the windier days I went to like a little heavier, probably like a quarter. And other than that, I was using like a 3/16.
Okay. What size line, rod, all that?
I'm throwing it on I was throwing it on a tournament in a 7/6, medium heavy, all purpose from Fitzgerald. 17-pound fluorocarbon line, you know, just pinned down to a little Fitzgerald tungsten weight with like a 5/0 owner, you know, kind of just standard. And I mean, I did switch it back. I mean, one day, like I caught one actually on a 7.3 Bursa heavy, straight braid, 65-pound braid.
Heck yeah.
So I like it when they eat braid, you know, especially in all this grass, you can horse them a little bit better.
That's very Florida of you.
Yes, it is, you know. Sometimes I don't think it's like as technical, just when they want to bite it, they'll bite it.
Yep.
I mean, they bite that thing, that's 70-pound braids, so.
Right. Probably a lot of people that, you know, after this event were like, man, who is this young buck? You know, this young lad kicking booty, catching big fish. And, you know, you and I talked, man, it was December, January this year, something like that.
Yep.
For an article. Mm-hmm. And basically got the gist of, you know, you've grown up, you know, here in Florida, you know, doing hunting, fishing, all that good kind of stuff. But really, it wasn't like till about high school that competitive bass fishing, well, a little before that, kind of really got rolling for you. Like, you haven't been doing it all that long, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. You know, like, like I said there, my first bass tournament was out of a 14-foot John boat with a cooler live well. And like, really, like, probably the first competitive bass tournaments I got in that were like big was my senior year of high school. And I won the state championship down there. We had like 29 pounds with our best 5. And man, we had to throw back like 3 over 7 that week. That was just giants because we didn't have exemptions.
Right.
But that's kind of, you know, like after that I was hungry, like I loved it. So I pretty much graduated, bought me a bass boat, and it's kind of took off from there, you know. And then I kind of got out of it. I didn't get out of bass fishing, I just got out of the tournament thing. And then like 2 years ago, I had a guy come to me and he's like, man, you got the talent, let's do it. And here we are. I fished the feeder league last year and did fairly well, made the tour, and here we are, second event, the champion.
Yeah, it does seem like, I mean, it really kind of got rock and roll for you quick. You had a really good season last year, points-wise, in the Toyota Series. Then you make it to Cumberland for the championship. You top 10 there, which you took a Florida boy, you went to some clear water, a Highland reservoir, and I believe you cranked up smallmouths, right? Which was like the only time you've ever fished for
Pretty much.
smallmouths?
I mean, every bass I weighed during that tournament was a small jaw.
So it basically, I mean, it seems like you haven't been doing it that long, but there's definitely like a natural ability there, and you know, it just is kind of snowballed its way to, you know, here we are doing a day 5.
Right, you know, and I mean, it's like I said, you know, a bass nowadays, man, there's so much you can research, there's so much you can look up, you know, and it kind of it don't explain itself now because you still got to do it. But, you know, a bass is kind of something that all over the country, he's gonna bite black and blue. A bass is gonna bite a jig. A bass is gonna bite a crankbait, you know, and that's pretty much standard anywhere you go. So I've kind of just took what I know and go to a lake and fish my strengths. Is kind of what's got me there, you know. Fishing like what I like to, when I go to a place, I mean, I've never wanted to be like second place guy. I've always wanted to win. So when I go fishing, I go to win, you know, and that's how I practice. That's my mentality.
Yeah.
Have a little bit of straight braid action, huh?
Look at that. Just got to get all Florida on them.
That's right. You know, when in doubt, just go braid.
That is a, oh, he's peeing.
Oh, he's peeing.
Oh, man.
He's peeing. That is a pretty little dude.
That is a fun little added bonus. We're trolling motor our way back to the ramp. And I mean, we got to keep rolling, but I think we can call her good, man.
I do too, man.
I think that's a wrap on this video.
Let's finish it up then. I think
we didn't catch any mega bag, but that's fine. You got that out of the way on day 2 when it actually mattered.
That's right.
But I appreciate you coming back out here, man. I think it's really cool what you've done in such a young time in your career. And I think it's really cool that now the bass fishing world got introduced to Laramy Strickland. Yes,
sir. You know, it is. It's cool. You know, I'm glad to get the win for sure. Glad to catch the bag I did because, I mean, this bite was kind of going away and it's got tougher as you can tell. But to get it done right here at home, what more could you ask for?
Well, Laramy, thank you very much, dude.
Thanks, sir.
Good luck the rest of the season, and we'll see if we can't catch a bonus 8 on our way out.
Sounds good.
We done.
Peace.